Basically, this generation is more liberal, more tolerant, more Democrat-leaning than the one before. It's not just because they're young.
For another point of view, it's Hard News with Russell Brown and Wammo on Kiwi.
It's from publicaddress.net, the Media 7 show on TBNZ7. It is Russell Brown. Good morning to you, Russell.
Good morning.
Now, you've been looking very closely at the British election situation, and there's been some further developments this morning with Gordon Brown now resigning, paving the way, it looks like, for a Conservative government, Russell.
Yeah, a full coalition with the Liberal Democrats, which I think may have surprised people here, because the way this would have been handled here would probably have been a minority government with confidence in supply.
Yeah.
So the Lib Dems would have agreed to vote for the Tories' budget, or at least abstain, but not become part of a full coalition. But they've gone the coalition way.
Because it's a first-past-the-post system over there.
Yeah, it is, and it really started to look ridiculous. It's funny, sitting over here, I think, for all that people moan about MMP, I think we've internalised it to the point where it just looked crazy that the Liberal Democrats' share of the vote was not reflected in any meaningful way in their share of seats. It just seemed, that this doesn't make any sense.
But there is some surprise here, though, because the Liberal Democrats had some pretty stringent conditions. They wanted a referendum on the electoral system there.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, unless I've missed it, I'm just looking at the reports now, that's the one thing no one's talking about.
Yeah.
They get a big chunk of government, and there's even a suggestion that Lord David Owen will become the Defence Secretary, which is extraordinary. Lord Ashdown, Paddy Ashdown, not David Owen, who's the former Lib Dem leader. And given the importance of defence to the Tories, because they want to renew Britain's Trident nuclear defence, which they cannot afford. I'm surprised. I would be surprised if the Lib Dems got defence, but that's what they're saying at the moment.
Okay, so are these two going to be able to work together? I mean, they come from very different sides of the political spectrum.
Yeah, well, that's actually the interesting thing, is that I think Cameron is a natural consensus seeker, and it is actually that ability that I think has brought the Tories in from the wilderness. But he will have the base of his own party to contend with. And you can already see there are blogs going up on the Daily Telegraph's website expressing qualms about this. And I think that's going to be the difficult thing. The Guardian had a look at a note that was in Clegg's hand that they managed to get a photo of. And the bottom lines for the Tories appeared to be immigration, Europe, and Trident, which is the nuclear missile system that they don't really need. And it's kind of depressing, given the real problems facing Britain, if those things were their bottom lines. It just seems kind of irrelevant, frankly.
So what does it mean, particularly for us, in their foreign policy?
Very little, I would think. I think David Cameron will get on extremely well with John Key. I don't think it will be any better or worse for us.
What about Cameron and Obama?
Cameron will get on fine with Obama. He will want to look good. Again, you may have that issue of some of the people who voted for him, and even some of the party members might feel differently. But when you look at what Cameron stands for, he's, as someone pointed out on public address, he looks like a Maoist compared to Obama in some ways. The politics in Britain, conservative politics in Britain are a completely different thing than they are in the US. Most of the things that conservatives have been obsessing about for the past year in the US are just irrelevant. You're talking about two different groups of people, really.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the whole election's been really fun to watch. I know people like Bernard Hickey were saying, well, why shouldn't we, pay more attention to elections in Asia, which are our major trading markets? Well, we don't know who anyone is. It's not in English. You don't have that phenomenon. There's probably about 1 million New Zealanders who have lived in Britain at some point. So there's a big cultural tie there. And when you've got them just putting on this feast of media. I mean, it was great on the election day, well, the election night there, being able to watch the Channel 4 coverage by certain means via the internet and have the likes of Charlie Brooker and David Mitchell
Perfect.
making whoopee. It was really good fun
Yeah.
to watch. And there was also, of course, I mean, I can't believe he did this. Charlie Brooker was nervous about being live on live TV.
Yeah.
And he admitted that he was somewhat startled when he had to do his second throw to a video clip he'd made, and he did a little pee in his pants. He told everyone that in his Guardian column, which, you have to empathise for him, but I don't think I would have told people.
No, but he's that sort of man, and
Indeed,
that's why we like him.
He shared.
Hey, very quickly, what is coming up on Media 7 this week?
We're looking at the media's role as the so-called, fourth estate. And specifically scrutinising judges, because in any working democracy you have to be very careful about political attention to judges, because the judiciary is and should be independent. But aside from the judiciary keeping an eye on itself, the press has a role, and we've seen that with the whole thing that's unfolded around Justice Bill Wilson and the claim, which he absolutely denies, that he had a conflict of interest that he should have declared. In some cases he heard, because the cases were argued by his friend and business partner, Alan Galbraith, to whom he owed a reasonable amount of money.
Right.
And he didn't do this. There is some debate over whether he should have, but the way he's handled it has certainly not covered him in glory. So we'll be talking to Phil Kitchen, who wrote a few of the stories, Jenny McManus of The Independent, who wrote a report card on the judges last year that was fascinating, and Jock Anderson of NBR as well. So that should be quite good fun. That'll be on tomorrow night.
Most excellent. Thanks very much, Russell.
Jolly good.
Cheers. Check out that show on Media 7, TVNZ7, and also the blog at publicaddress.net.
Kiwi FM and the Documentary Channel present The Indie Doc.